After I first started studying Teddy Roosevelt and deciding how I was going to paint him, I decided that traditional American tattoos would be the perfect way to tell his story. First of all, tattooing is thousands of years old, but there was a specific moment in American history that I love when it comes to tattooing, and that is American traditional, the era of Sailor Jerry and Ed Hardy. In the early 1900s, tattooing was very taboo. It was closely associated with criminals and sailors by trade, so hardened sailors who are traveling the world. It was definitely seen as very uncouth, and gentlemen did not have tattoos. But then in 1940, when World War II started and men from 18 to 45, fathers, sons, grandfathers, were all drafted. Women were going out to work and men were leaving to fight in a war, and they didn't know if they would come back. So might as well get some ink. They were using tattoos as a way to memorialize these extreme experiences, their travels. Tattoos were doing what art is supposed to do: unite, express, and memorialize. It was a powerful time in American history when an entire generation of men marked their bodies as if it would be their last message to the world. The signature style at the time was American traditional, or what we now call American traditional. Here are some of the meanings behind the typical flash tattoos of this time. A lady head tattoo was a beautiful woman. A lot of times it was meant to represent their love that they were leaving behind. Swallow tattoos on sailors represented 5,000 miles sailed or 5,000 miles traveled. Also, there was a belief that if a sailor died at sea, that the swallow would carry their soul home. Ship tattoos were kind of metaphorical and practical. They also represented their love of adventure and their choice to be on the sea. A nautical star and a compass represented similar things. So the stars or nautical stars are a way that sailors can find their way, and a compass obviously is the same thing. It can represent never losing your way. Daggers were symbols of protection or a person's readiness to stand up for what is right and the ability to fight. Lighthouses could represent someone waiting in the harbor. A lighthouse for a sailor brings you home. It's the light that you're headed towards. So a lighthouse could represent your family that you left behind, and they are the ones that are beckoning you home. So with all of these symbols that these sailors and this generation of men use to symbolize things, to memorialize things, to commemorate things, I use these as symbols to talk about Teddy's life. Lady head that he has tattooed represents his first wife, Alice, who was his first love, and she actually died 2 days after giving birth to their child. I chose to have her pose as Lady Liberty because there was a connection with obviously patriotism and then also the timing. The year that Alice died was the same year that France gifted the Statue of Liberty to the United States, and it was installed a couple years later in New York City, which is where Teddy ended up living and would see the statue for a lot of his life after that. The compass tattoo, if you look closely in the painting, it is pointed out to the west. After Alice died, he was devastated, and he went out west to heal from that devastation. He left his daughter, his young daughter, with his sister to care for her. He could hardly say her name. Alice, says she was named after his wife who had just died. Teddy's tattoo of the lighthouse represents his second wife, Edith, who absolutely was the hope that helped him continue on in life after he lost his Alice. He had gone out west to bury his sorrows in the cowboy lifestyle. And when he came back one time to visit his daughter, Alice, he met up with Edith, who was a friend from childhood. And she really brought him back to himself and brought him back to life, and ended up being just such a resolute companion to him. Teddy loved to hunt. He had very specific trophies that he wanted to get, like a bison and a bear. One time on a bear hunt, he and his guide did not see anything for days and days. And then one morning, the guide woke Teddy up and said, "I found a bear. Let's go get it." And the guide had tied up a bear, chained up a bear, and offered for Teddy to shoot it so that he could add it to his list, add it to his trophies. And as much as Teddy loved to hunt, he said that he would never shoot a poor animal that was chained up. And so That's what the bear on his stomach, the stomach tattoo of the bear represents is he does love a gun, he does love to hunt, but he is too noble to shoot a chained up animal. Another reason why I chose to tattoo Teddy is because of a myth that has circulated for a very long time. Some people state that Teddy had a chest piece of his family's crest, which, as badass as that would be and completely on brand for Teddy Roosevelt, it unfortunately is not true. There was a political cartoon made of him in 1912 that depicted him with tattoos all over his body, and it was to prove a point. It wasn't to tell his secret. It was to say that he was going against his word about not running again for president. So I think that's where the rumor comes from. It's fun. It proves that fake news is not new to our generation. I decided if we're going to go with the rumor, I will go ahead and draft up some really cool tattoos that tell his story. So I hope you enjoy Tatted Teddy.